Ever since he broke out with his first screenplay credit on Being John Malkovich, Charlie Kaufman has made a name for himself with his surreal and unusual stories. And now he has a new movie he has served as a writer on, titled Orion the Dark, which is currently streaming on Netflix. People might be surprised to see his name on a DreamWorks animation movie, but this is not his first association with the studio, as he previously did some uncredited polishes on the script for Kung Fu Panda 2. Meanwhile, the movie was directed by Sean Sharmatz, who has primarily worked as a storyboard artist on SpongeBob SquarePants and several animated films. He also directed a few Trolls-related projects for DreamWorks. Interestingly enough, Orion the Dark was produced by DreamWorks Animation's television unit. However, this is the sort of movie I could easily imagine playing theatrically, as it does a lot of neat creative things with the visuals and the entire concept. People tend to dismiss their television productions, but DWA-TV has produced several worthwhile productions, and this is another one. I like that the plot focuses on this 11-year-old boy named Orion, as it depicts all his fears. There are the expected ones, like bullies and mosquitoes, but then they throw in a lot of extreme ones to really highlight how scared he is of the world. The movie showcases it through humor, but also sympathy towards him. When the Dark is introduced as a character, they have a fun dynamic, as we learn about how it spreads around the world, which gives the artists and animators a lot of opportunities to be inventive. The character designs are particularly fun. I like how a lot of animated movies over the past several years have leaned into making their characters look, well, animated, rather than hyper-realism, which have been the norm for a while, and Orion the Dark continues that. I've not read the book this movie is based on, which was written by Emma Yarlett, so I don't know which ideas are hers and which came from Sharmatz and Kaufman, but all the concepts come together nicely. In addition to dark, we get other manifestations of the nighttime, like unexplained noises and insomnia. They are all given their own unique traits and designs that stand out. Like Quiet, for instance, who speaks so quietly the filmmakers made sure to add subtitles. There's also something insomnia does to keep people awake, which is a little too relatable. I like that the movie does not have a villain, as there are stories that don't necessarily call for them. Instead, the problems come from the inner conflicts faced by the characters and how they confront them. The film is mostly interested in showing how Orion deals with his fears and playing around about conception of night. Aside from the character development involving Orion, the movie also explores the necessity of the dark and that we don't need the lights on all the time. As important as light is in our day-to-day life, it does have its detriments, which this movie gets into. There's a part I particularly appreciated that takes aim at light pollution and the effect this has on the sky. That does reach a certain point in the movie where it feels like they hit the fast-forward button in the story and it races through a number of plot elements. Characters tend to change on the dime, and I felt the film maybe needs to progress towards these points in a more delicate manner. At a certain point in the movie, something is revealed in the narrative which at first seems like a pretty standard storytelling device that you'd think is only going to occasionally pop up. However, it eventually becomes a bigger part of the story, and where they take it is quite interesting. This is where Orion in the Dark feels the most like a movie written by Charlie Kaufman. A common element in the films he's worked on, either as a writer or director, is that his characters tend to get deep into a certain headspace, and he particularly likes to mess around with what movie narratives are capable of and the ever-changing viewpoints of his characters. He does not write simple A to B plots. Adaptation, for example, initially began development as an adaptation of the book The Orchid Thief, and then somehow morphed into a screenplay about the adaptation process with Kaufman and a fictional twin, and a commentary on how Hollywood movies often use certain tropes to excite the audience. Meanwhile, Eternal Sunshine, The Spotless Mind is an exploration of memories and how we perceive them, and Anomalisa uses stop-motion animation to emphasize a man's perspective of the world, having a certain sameness to it wherever he turns. With Orion in the Dark, there's a similar approach to the story and how it often throws the characters into unexpected places and plays with the structure and time frame of events. Maybe that's why DreamWorks decided to have it released on Netflix rather than opt for a theatrical release. While I feel the pacing and certain plot turns could have been handled a little better, it's nonetheless admirable this film is allowed to reach the finish line, and the animators and Micros Animation also deserve credit for having it look so nice on screen. So give Orion in the Dark a look on Netflix, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching.